Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Joe Milton goes for a fifth. What can our guy Hendon Hooker go for?
Hey, this is Arif Hasan with the Wide Left Substack. I have imposed a 20% tariff on Luke Inman and a 60% tariff on Luke Braun.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings. That's true. My economy is crashing.
Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. Join us today as we try to find the next John David Booty for the Vikes on today's episode.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Arif Hasan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talk's Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
And welcome in on a Thursday, Minnesota Football Party, Locked On Sports Minnesota, Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making us your first watch or listen today. We talk about the Vikings for an hour on Mondays and Thursdays, and our Care 11 crew joins on Wednesdays. We have a great time. Please subscribe, Locked On Sports Minnesota, or find our audio on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed, where Luke Braun is producing great daily Vikings content over there. Lot to get to today. Isaiah Rodgers, future star in the making, and the apple of Brian Flores' eye. We will identify day one impact draftees the Vikings could target, as well as developmental QB options. At the end of the show, we will have the return of Name Drop. And if you're not familiar, you're going to get familiar with Name Drop, with a twist today. But I want to remind folks that we are brought to you by, and say it with me in 3, 2, 1.
FanDuel.
Game Time.
Game Time.
Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On NFL
Game Time
for $20 off your first purchase. You met the Lukes. You met Arif. I'm Sam Ekstrom. Let's dive in. Kevin O'Connell spoke in Florida at the coaches' meetings, and this perked my ears up when he gave this quote about the cornerbacks for a couple reasons. I'll lay them out. Number one, I see Isaiah Rodgers being an every down impact guy, O'Connell said. And then he went into Brian Flores speaking in hushed tones and like getting a different tenor in his voice when he talked about Isaiah Rodgers. But then O'Connell goes
watch
on
him
to
at
say,
night in the wee hours of the morning.
light some candles. Then bringing a guy like Jeff Okuda, who we've had some real experience against. We kind of see him as a boundary type corner in nickel defense. Shorten the field and get physical, go put his hands on people. That's just a very detailed, specific vision for a guy that I think a lot of people are casting off in Jeff Okuda, like thinking, okay, maybe camp body might not make the team. He kind of put him right behind Isaiah Rodgers when he listed off the various cornerback options. I'm interested in that. I'm also interested in this Isaiah Rodgers vision. I'm interested in the whole cornerback room vision for Brian Flores, because when he gets that like light candles and watch film kind of mojo about a player, whether it be Josh Metellus or Ivan Pace, he gets the vision, he implements it early on, OTAs, mini camp, and then it plays out. And I feel like he's going to do the same thing with Theo Jackson too. I think Theo Jackson's one of those guys. But what is the potential? What is the vision for Isaiah Rodgers? I want Luke Braun to weigh in on this first.
So I'm not surprised to hear, every down starter, right? I mean, you're paying like $8 million. Like it's not a backup, right? For Isaiah Rodgers, my take on him, so he's a fast corner, right? Like he ran a crazy 40 time. And that means that you can play things really aggressively. You can backpedal for a little longer because you have the recovery speed. You can take more risks and you can try to jump stuff. You can try to, hold it just a little bit longer to wait for like routes to declare. And it's a lot harder to surprise you. I think that's the idea behind Isaiah Rodgers. And I think the reason they got him so cheap doesn't have a whole lot to do with that. It has to do with the fact that, he got usurped by a couple of really great rookies in Philadelphia. He's had a couple of reasons to miss time, medical and otherwise. And that's going to like ruin his stock. So I'm not super surprised to hear that. Like, I think Isaiah Rodgers is just like your other starting corner, him and Byron Murphy. And then it's either Mekhi Blackman or somebody's going to join that beats him out.
Yeah. And I think first and foremost, like you said, like they're paying him what, $8 million. I mean, that's kind of starter money anyways, right off the bat. But there was some Eagles fans that like I talked to when we signed him. They said, like, dude, our secondary looked better when he was out there versus when he wasn't. Like, they swore by him, said he was very underrated all in all last year. Super fast, long vertical speed, especially for that Flores man coverage. I thought he's got the couple games I went back and watched, like, good instincts, route recognition. I didn't know a lot about him, to be honest. I knew a lot about Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, obviously Darius Slay, who kind of broke down at the end. But, like, good playmaking skills when the ball's in the air. He's small, right? He's on that smaller, thinner side, which does make him prone to more injuries. There was a few interceptions that like he had ripped away because he's just not the strongest guy in the world. Like when he's matched up versus more bigger, physical, imposing wide receivers, those alpha big wide receivers on the outside, it's sometimes definitely physically he can get outmatched and outstrength. But I think the functional strength is there. Like he was a good tackler. It's more like grip strength or something, like just the overall size. He doesn't have the length and he's just got that smaller stature, but the talent is definitely there, the athleticism, the instincts. And again, you ask any Eagles fan, I think they were pretty bummed to see him go during free agency. They really loved what they saw. So intriguing. You got your two corners now. Sounds like, again, I mean, KOC is going to say all he wants right now. Here's our vision and blueprint and like plan A. Jeff Okuda is going to be that 3. We'll see when training camp shows up, OTAs, preseason, all that. Things can change pretty quick once they see these guys on the field. But it feels like a 3-man competition for that number 3 guy, right? Byron Murphy, that's your one. Obviously, Isaiah Rodgers is your number 2. But like, who's the 3? Mekhi Blackman. I'm sure they want Mekhi Blackman to go win the number 3 job. Dwight McGlothern and then Jeff Okuda. Maybe Jay Ward. Maybe he's in on some of these reps and snaps too during the summer as well. But Flores definitely has, it feels like, his 2 starting corners right now for sure.
Got a little bit of Josh Robinson PTSD when Luke was talking there with getting out muscled for interceptions. That scared me a little bit. I'm having a little bit of flashback. But Braun, what were you saying?
I wanted to really quick talk about Okuda. So he has like Vetman salary, but it's fully guaranteed, which implies that they intend for him to make the team, which I like, that doesn't guarantee it, right? Like you can still suck real bad in camp and get cut. Like it's sunk cost, but that does tell me that like, they probably think he's going to be part of at least the depth there, but I would still be pretty surprised to see him starting.
Arif.
I don't really have much to add to what both the Luke said. I mean, I know that the concern about like height and size is there, right? But like, who is tall on the Vikings? There's not tall. Yeah. I think the 2 tall corners are actually Jeff Okuda and Dwight McGlothern, guys that we don't expect. So and they're both like 6'1". Like those are the tallest guys, and they're like, what Okuda is like 190 something. He's like 200 pounds, maybe 195. Mm-hmm. McGlothern is also a twig. Mm-hmm. And so there's not a ton of size. Obviously, Rodgers makes up for it with how aggressive a player he is. You mentioned that maybe the strength doesn't match that in some situations, like jump ball or contested ball situations, but he is aggressive about taking down the ball carrier, which I think is something that they really strongly like to look forward to. I don't know. Like, I think that this is one area where I do have a lot of skepticism about some of these players. I've mentioned this before. Okuda just doesn't have a strong history of play. He's got an injury history as well. Isaiah Rodgers just doesn't have a history of play, like period. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to maintain that skepticism until we see what happens in camp. But I don't know that. I mean, this coaching staff has earned a lot of credit, right? For us to like, I was not super high on Theo Jackson. Turns out he's good at football. if you know how to use him correctly, which the Vikings seemingly do. Right? I didn't have a ton of faith in a ton of players that the Vikings have brought in that they've done a really, really good job at maximizing and doing the most with. And so, they deserve a little bit of faith. But yeah, I think that the way they talk about some of these players, sometimes I think one thing to remember is a lot of times when coaches bring up a player that you ask about, right? They might be pretty vague. And here Kevin O'Connell's being surprisingly specific. They have a plan for every player that they sign, and that's not unusual for front offices. They have a plan for every single player that they sign. It just so happened that Kevin O'Connell revealed that plan a little bit more than we're used to. I don't think that suggests that a player is high up on the depth chart. I think that they just have a vision for what maximizes his role.
Kind of like the ceiling. It feels like that was the ceiling, right?
Yeah.
Like, Jeff, this is the best case scenario. We're paying him, peanuts anyways. But this is the best case scenario when we signed Jeff Okuda and we had those discussions and talked about the game plan and blueprint. Will that come to fruition? More times than not, it doesn't for these players. But yeah, it was interesting and nice to kind of, have a bird's eye view of what some of their visions are, especially with guys in the secondary, like Okuda. You're right, though. This cornerback room is small. Somebody needs to pull a LaRon Landry and show up at 240 this offseason. Show up just jacked. So we need one dude who's
going.
That's what Najee Thompson was doing. Najee Thompson will show up as the jack.
I wanted to answer
one guy.
That is an interesting situation.
It is.
Because there are two free agents this year that seem to be mostly about special teams in Tim Jones and Tavierre Thomas. And I don't think you keep more than one guy on the roster that's there for just special teams. So I feel like there's a lot of really stiff competition there, unless one of those two guys finds a way to earn a job from scrimmage, like Tavierre Thomas, CB4, and he has a great camp or something.
Needle.
The old needle. So that is really interesting. And with Najee Thompson coming off an ACL, he'll be back in camp, but will he be able to retain that job? It kind of feels like they brought in a couple guys to really, really squeeze that.
Isaiah Rodgers in his 3 seasons with 500-ish snaps, 31st, 25th, and 5th in PFF grade. That is not nothing. That is not bad at all. And that's not, again, PFF grade combines a lot of factors. It combines tackling, it's coverage, it's pass rush, right? But Byron Murphy, doesn't have grades that good. So there's something there that was identified, and it seemed to translate across multiple defensive schemes from Indianapolis to Philadelphia. And I think that a lot of these players, like Okuda, is clouded in injuries. He's been labeled a bust, right? He's got that stigma about him. Isaiah Rodgers, labeled as the guy that got suspended for gambling. I think the Vikings are fighting against stigmas and just purely looking at the tape of when they are healthy, what they can contribute.
Well, what's his Madden rating now? Because that's also
right.
That's analytics.
Right. Well, we've learned from the Jets that this is
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
A fundamentally good process.
Hey, we're talking about our cornerback room is so small. The Lions, they got rid of Carlton Davis. They signed DJ Reed, who we all love, but he's not overly big. Who's their biggest corner now? Top of my head, they got the rookie from Alabama last year.
Yeah.
Terrion, I guess, but he's not he's not like Antonio Cromartie size or anything like that.
Well, Luke, whatever you do, don't bring up our lads to look at who.
I won't. I don't anymore.
Don't do it.
I got to go to the ESPN team sites. I don't even open it.
There you go.
Isaiah Rodgers has a Madden rating of 77. That's pretty good.
That's actually solid. 77 is not bad.
All right, dude.
We got a steal.
Come on down.
We got it for $8 million.
In this economy, I shouldn't make economy jokes today. When we return, a draft pick that can contribute day one for the Vikings. We'll have some nominees next. We're brought to you today by everyone's favorite, Game Time. You want to watch your favorite teams live? You want to feel the energy of the crowd, whether that's the Minnesota Wild, Minnesota Timberwolves, Minnesota Gophers here locally, or whether it's the Final Four, the college basketball tournament, which is taking place this weekend. You can get tickets, whether it's well in advance or last minute, at unbeatable prices. Game Time Picks has a curation feature that makes it easy to find the best possible value. They narrow it down and only show you the best deals. It's extremely easy to shop, a couple clicks, and you've got your ticks. There are some huge matchups coming up in town. Timberwolves only have 2 home games left at Target Center, and then the playoffs. There's the lowest price guarantee, so you can book with total confidence and take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Game Time. And a quick reminder at Locked On Sports Minnesota, we've got the Ron Johnson Show on Tuesdays. He had Ariante Ursery, Gophers draft prospect, tackle prospect, joining this past Tuesday. Great interview. Check it out. And he should be joining us here in a little bit. But we're going to get into day one impact draftees for the Vikes. Who could they take, whether it's at 24 or a future pick, that could contribute right away? I'm going to get mine out there because I know it'll get stolen, and I'm selfish. Tyler Booker. That feels like the chalk answer.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Booker, a left guard who could be available, who was good for Alabama, and that is the clear void on the offensive line right now. Didn't allow a sack in 2 of his 3 college seasons. Good pass protector. Seems like a very clear week 1 candidate. It'd be a competition, be billed as a competition. I think that might be the most realistic of anyone the Vikings could take. So that's my guy.
I mean, that definitely would have been my first guy flung out too. He had a better pro day too. I know a lot of people dinged him because of a bad combine. Much better 10-yard split at his pro day and kind of alleviated some of those concerns. Luke, I'm curious. Have you watched any of Booker? Have you watched him yet?
Yeah, he was one of the first guys I got
A lot
to.
of people talk about he's perfect for the gap scheme, power running game. I kind of think he's good no matter what, whatever offense you run. Any concerns that he would fit the Vikings offense specifically, and how KOC likes to kind of manufacture his run game?
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't. I've heard he doesn't have the movement skills or whatever. I didn't see a lot of issue with that. When he was asked to combo, he got up to the second level. It was fine. Mm-hmm. I didn't really get that. I think he's just a good guard.
I do too. Yeah, I plug and play, dude. Plug and play.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. BPA. His tape is
very
just
balanced
too good for me. Yes, his tape is
there's not
very
he's not
complete.
a super stylized prospect where he's really
Yep.
really fast but not very he's not this
polished.
Min-max. He just
very well rounded
guard.
to his
I don't
game
know.
for sure.
Super boring eval, so I didn't make any content about it. It's this guy works.
I get it. Well, there was a time too, a month ago, I just thought he would be gone, which is crazy to say about a guard, even at pick 24. But now with the bad combine, I'm just you read mocks, new mocks
which
that
is
come out
going to
every day
reinforce
and,
the he can't move thing.
Yeah, right, exactly. But and also too, Sam, as we get closer to the draft, I don't know what you think, but the more I just try to put myself in KOC and Kwesi and the Vikings' shoes. They already swapped out 2 of their interior O-linemen for brand new guys. So to them, I just feel like we've already done a lot to improve that spot in their eyes, trying to put myself in their shoes. I still think going back to last year's OTAs and training camp and preseason, all the positive things KOC had to say about Blake Randall, it just makes me think they'll probably run it back with him, knowing that, hey, that was only his first year starting, knowing that when Darisaw was healthy and playing next to him, he looked a lot more serviceable. And they probably think we are very comfortable. We in fact, are excited about this new starting 5, that they would rather use their one early pick, only one pick in the first, 95 picks, maybe not on a guard and go somewhere else. But that's my only cause of concern.
Did you hear what O'Connell said about Brandel in the owners' meeting just now?
No, I didn't. No.
Said he's going to compete with Michael Juergens at that position.
Oh, hell.
They're going to move Michael Juergens over and have that be a competition.
Whoa. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Which puts center way up on the not day one impact because it's a backup, but backup center suddenly becomes a draft thing in day 3.
Yeah.
Is Booker out of the first round because of the combine? Is 24 no long? Is that
so much?
I would still take him at 24, but I wouldn't be surprised if I'm not scared by it. But
I think that for NFL teams, when you're kind of making that decision, it's definitely looking for reasons to bump a player out of the first round if you can find them, if they're not like an elite talent. And I think Booker's not like an elite talent, right? He's a very good talent. And I think if you're looking for reasons, those are reasons. What I find interesting is, like, Luke, you mentioned his pro day. He only ran the 10s. He didn't run a full 40 at his pro day. His pro day, you said it kind of helped. I looked up the pro day results over at Draft Scout. So I don't know what was publicly reported versus not. I have a piece over at Wide Left about the public state of reporting at pro days. But the 10 split didn't look any different. It was a 1.90 over on draftscout.com versus the 1.89 he got on one of his faster runs.
Interesting.
At the combine.
Interesting, because I know in Daniel Jeremiah's like top 50 board, I know one of the big things that he was talking about, like he posted a much better 10-yard split at his pro day versus the combine to alleviate some concern. So that's interesting. I would have
interesting. Yeah, I want to take a deeper dive onto that just because those were just
maybe there was a second run, maybe he ran twice. But no, that's interesting.
But at the pro day, he did run a substantially faster short shuttle, which is a much more dispositive workout when it comes to projecting guard play in the NFL. So I find that kind of curious.
Yeah.
I want to dig into that a little bit more, but when it comes to high threshold position for the first round, like guard, right? Or nowadays, even running back, right? It's very easy for small things to knock you out of the first round, where it wouldn't be the case for a high value position like a quarterback, right? And so I remember, a while back that it was the Gophers tight end Max Williams ran like a sub or a beyond a 4.74 or something like that. And Greg Gabriel tweeted out like, well, now he can't get in the first round. And everyone got like really mad. Well, Max Williams didn't, get drafted in the first round. He got drafted in the second. And I don't know that was the full evaluation or anything like that. I don't want to give one workout or one test too much credit, but it very much seems like for positions that don't often get drafted in the first round, safety, guard, center, when you have a high profile event that looks like a knock, it's much easier to get somebody out of the first round at those positions than at other positions like wide receiver, right? Like Ted McMillan is not going to drop out or even drop that far in the draft as a result of his workouts because he plays wide receiver, 1, 2, he is kind of closer to elite territory to a lot of people. So I do think that it is possible that as a result of this, Booker does slip out of the first round. But I'm curious what the Vikings take on that is because, the way that the Vikings run their front office, everyone thinks of it as an analytics front office. It kind of is, but in a much different respect than I think public-facing analytics would have you run a front office, right? And so they do a lot.
I think
less...
the Vikings are just like only going to draft receivers and corners and like
pass
the ball 90% of the time. It's like that's not what NFL analytics actually are. That's Twitter analytics.
Right. Yeah. And if you talk to like people in well-respected analytics departments like the Eagles and the Ravens and the 49ers, they care a lot more about the run game and running backs than like in the analytics departments, not just the team, but in the analytics departments. They care a lot more about running backs than in public-facing analytics. So these can be distinct. And one way that it can be distinct is that here on the public side, a lot of us are trying to develop these athleticism models to try and see what can help, predict draft outcomes. And teams do that, but it seems like it plays a smaller role, even in analytically forward teams, than we would imagine for those teams. And so I don't know that the workouts matter as much as we might think. Even for an analytics team. I do think that even though both of you don't kind of agree with the scheme concern, that there's a strong possibility that the Vikings disagree with you and agree with you and may not see him as a potential scheme.
Correct. Yep.
What about Zabel? As moving inside, a lot of people think he is a perfect.
I recuse myself.
Arif.
Unfortunately, I don't know a lot about him.
Omitted. Okay.
Yeah, I know he killed it at the Senior Bowl. Big
riser,
like
was important
winner,
for NDSU because that's
any small school guy that shows up to Mobile, you're kind of put on display versus top tier competition. Guys you're going to go up against in the NFL for the first time. Can you hold your own? And he held his own and more. Ton of snaps logged at both left tackle, right tackle, and on the interior as well. I can't say for sure. I'd have to look it up if he's got experience at center? I don't believe so, but I
Little
know
bit.
they put him
Tiny,
at center.
Tiny bit.
Okay, I know they put him at center at the Senior Bowl, and he looked pretty comfortable and showed off good instincts. But more of a versatile guy, I feel like. If the question is, who's a day one starter for the Vikings? Well, every team has different needs, and I feel like because the Vikings have crushed not just this offseason, but last offseason as well, luckily, and this is a great thing, obviously, they can go into the draft, hopefully go on BPA to an extent. They don't have a ton of glaring needs anymore. So it's tough to say this guy, even though I love the tape and I think he's a great player, is going to be a day one starter on this team.
Also, we should not be thinking about this in terms of day one starters. In the 3 years of the Kwesi regime and the 4 first-round picks they've had, they've not drafted a single day one starter, right? Like, they just...
Addison.
Did he start day one?
I don't know. He scored a touchdown in his debut game.
Okay.
He was wide receiver too. He did.
Okay.
So
but I see what you're saying. I mean, Dallas Turner, even though they had 2 free agents in front of him, Lewis Cine, even if he did work out, probably wouldn't have started day one because of Harrison Smith and Cam Bynum in front of him. So I see what you're saying.
I just don't think that that's like the framework by which we should evaluate how the Vikings are going to make this pick.
Well, that was the question. So.
Well, that's the title of the show, Reed.
Literally.
That's not me criticizing Luke Inman. That's me criticizing Sam Ekstrom.
Should we restart? Should we redo
Kid
it?
Fisto's dental plan in the chat asked about the data suggesting the Vikings won't take a non-power 5 player before like round 6 or 7. That is a Tyler Forness thing. And his argument is because it's a big Andrew Berry principle. And Kwesi that's Andrew is like a mentee of Andrew Berry and hasn't done it yet, but I think he's being a little bit too rigid about that. We actually argued about that last night. We might argue about it on my show tomorrow.
Outstanding.
Kwesi doesn't seem to have, honestly, one of his principles is that he's not overly principled. He doesn't care about size.
No hard and fast rules.
Age, doesn't care about how many years you were good in college as long as you ended kind of in a good place. Like I feel like he's actually pretty open to all outcomes. Give me
I will say though, just real quick, if we change the topic and discussion from not a day one starter, but just looking at the next couple of years, especially knowing that Juergens is going over to left guard to compete, maybe that does open the door for a guy like Ray Zabel a little bit more if they do like him at center, plus the position flexibility as well, knowing that Ryan Kelly, probably nothing more than a year or two replacement guy, who's your long-term fix at center. Plus, if he doesn't work at center, we still love him at guard or position flexibility, maybe at tackles, whatever that looks like, I guess. But good value as far as position flexibility. And
I was right. Addison did not start day one. It was KJ Osborne.
I was wondering why I was so quiet for 68 seconds. Okay. All right, that makes sense.
What was his snap count in that game? Come on now.
I don't know. I'm not looking that up.
14, 13.
First play was 12 personnel. First play was a pass to CJ Ham. Justin Jefferson's not a starter.
Gray Zabel, very typically mocked in that late first round, right where the Vikes are picking. So it kind of makes sense. Yeah, you can see that.
Okay. Braun, give me one more name, day one impact, and then we're going to get to Ron Johnson.
How about a cornerback? I just went over him on my show. Another guy outside of the Power 5, Savon Revel. Eastern Carolina. I love this dude. This dude rules.
We drafted him on Monday, right?
He's big and he like plays in a way that translates, I think, to a higher level of competition, even though you see it mostly against a lower level of competition. I love the way that he backpedals and turns around.
For sure.
He is coming off an ACL, which is going to tank his stock, but by all reports, there's no concern about it at all. He should be ready for training camp. It just meant he couldn't test, which is always going to hurt. But he's just good at corner. Listen to my show. I deep dived him.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Red shirt year.
I don't feel like you hear him at all in the top 3, maybe even 4 corners. It makes me feel like maybe you can, whether it's a trade back into the second or trade up, maybe with that comp pick. I really like him, though. I feel like he should be in everybody's top 5, top 6 corners in this class for sure, minimum.
He gets dismissed a lot for being at a small school, but Alabama wanted him to transfer last year, and he said no to stay closer to his family.
He crushed against Texas San Antonio a couple years ago. Also very good against Appalachian State.
Great. Luke, that's not that like interesting of a, like, yeah, he's talented. I think the small school thing is more, it's difficult to evaluate you against a particular level of competition. And so the fact that Alabama wanted him doesn't tell me a ton.
That's the one that's more real. But I think when you have a small school guy, there are a lot of people that will say like, okay, but why didn't the big schools want him? And I think it's important to point out, well, yeah, they did.
All right.
Like it wasn't like a 2-star recruit, you know. He had crappy grades, so he had to go through JUCO, and then he kind of got lost in the shuffle because that coincided with COVID.
Why did the big schools want Khalil Mack? Man, that's crazy.
Almost 23 years old, but with like 1 year of experience, basically. That's going to be
JUCO,
a red flag
COVID.
That knocks him into day 3.
We're nearing the end of COVID age adjusting these players. We're so close.
What a run.
So it was his freshman year. He lost his freshman year at Lewisburg Community College. That's what we're down to.
We're going to pause briefly, then bring in Ron Johnson, keep the draft talk going, plus other Vikings talkers next on the Minnesota Football Party. A very quick pause, I promise. We bring Ron Johnson into the conversation. He hosts the Ron Johnson Show. He's at 3Ron Johnson on X, and he recently had Ariante Ursery on his show Tuesday, former Gophers tackle, draft prospect. Ron, coming off that interview with Ariante, how do you feel about his future, and would you like to see him in purple?
Sorry about that.
Audio not quite connected. We can stall for you.
We're
too.
live. Yeah,
we're good.
It's fine.
We're really good at tap dancing on this show.
We're good.
Arif,
Give me a name drop. Give me a name drop. Give me a tease for this name drop game.
Name drop coming up soon. Name drop will be Vikings touchdown scorers of the past.
3-2.
Aldrick Robinson. Got it.
Yes, Ron Johnson is back with us. What's up, Ron? Did you hear the question?
Yeah, I heard the question.
Yeah.
So Ariante Ursery, I mean, honestly, when you look at his size, I mean, he talks a lot about when he first got to college being a smaller guy, which, I mean, I don't know how you consider 310 pounds small. But, you know, a smaller guy at 310, 315. And then as he got bigger, stronger, he said he still was playing as if he was this smaller guy that had to move quick, move fast, move around. And he said Brian Callahan basically told him, like, dude, you are big. You are huge. Like, stop doing that. You're 330, 340 pounds, 6'6", offensive tackle. And so he has a body type of Christian Darrisaw. And so somebody posed a question after the interview who watched the show and said, you know, can he play guard? And if I'm not mistaken, I think when he came into the Gophers, they kind of had him as a tackle guard. He ended up being a true tackle because he got bigger and stronger. But you know, I think in the NFL, one, he's an early day one pick, if not, you know, I mean, at the latest, I think second round. And so when you think about where he could end up, what he could do for a team, could he play guard? I mean, my guess is a team that drafts him is going to want him as a staple right or left tackle. He can play both. He's played both for the Gophers. So I see him going to a team that's looking for a tackle. But again, I've seen stranger things happen with college guys, you know, who play one position in college and they go to the NFL and play a different position as far as guard to tackle. So I could see that working out for him. Vikings wise, I don't see, unless like truly they've had the conversations that do you want to play guard for us? Because we'll take you now. In the first round at 24. That's the only way I see him switching, you know, being willing to switch to guard. I think he's a natural tackle. And like I said, his body type and size, you know, and he talked about the Chiefs because, you know, that was one of the teams that talked to him. And, you know, he's from Kansas City, so his family is really hoping that he ends up a Chief. But he said he had to explain to his mom, this is not like college. Like college, I got to choose. NFL, they choose me. So I'm looking forward to seeing where he ends up.
Ron, we've got a question for you in the chat regarding Peter Bukowski. I'm not entirely sure what the question is asking, but I want.
Oh, this is from my show, I think, because Peter gave me a clip about this.
You take it, Luke.
Yeah, so he doesn't think Jaire Alexander is going to get cut and therefore will not sign with the Vikings. He thinks it's all a big game of chicken that the Packers are going to win. What do you think?
I don't really care, to be honest, about the Packers.
Honest. He's honest.
I really don't.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, I don't care.
I think that's the right take.
Yeah,
I just don't. Like,
You
I
don't lose a
mean,
wink.
if I don't, but I think so. He said that he thinks the Packers are going to lose or Jaire's going to lose.
That Jaire is going to lose. He thinks it's all just a bunch of posturing and that eventually Jaire is going to realize nobody wants to trade for you. Nobody wants you. You're not going to make more money. Good luck.
Right.
So
will
Ron,
a team trade for him? I think a team would trade for him. I think the Packers are going to make the number so stupid that nobody's going to want to take the number. But I think if it was a reasonable ask, like, hey, we'll give you, because I mean, think about some of the people who've been traded and what they were traded for. I mean, at this point, he's not a first or second round pick trade.
Correct.
You know, and so does anybody want to give up a third or fourth for him? Probably
Is he
not.
more
Now,
valuable than Garrett Bradbury?
what did Bradbury go for? A third or
Nothing.
fourth?
He got cut.
Yeah. So I would say he's a little bit more valuable than Garrett Bradbury when you look at the cornerbacks in the market. So you have to look at what's out there. What's, you know, what can you go get? If you don't feel like you can get anything better than Jaire, and here's the thing about Jaire Alexander. If he was shut up half the time, nobody would even care that he gets beat every once in a while because he does a good job. It's just that he talks so much. He puts a lot of pressure on himself. And then when it's time to go against Justin Jefferson, he gets owned. And I think that's the problem. If he would say nothing about Justin Jefferson, because Justin Jefferson is not going to lose that battle. So he can say whatever he wants about Jaire Alexander. And they always, like a cornerback, you could break up 6 passes in a row. But if you give up a touchdown, you lost. So that's the thing about being corners. You have to just be quiet. Like, unless you're Deion Sanders and you're going to back it up every single time, just be quiet. Like, be quiet, sit back and play football. Like, look at Byron Murphy. Nobody cared about Byron Murphy because he didn't talk. He's really good. He got paid, but he doesn't talk. So nobody cares when he gets beat. But like Jaire Alexander gets beat because and it gets talked about because he talks about it. And everybody's like, dude, you're an idiot. Shut up. Like, you just got beat. So do I think a team is willing to trade for 6th or 7th round pick? I'd say he's a little bit higher than Garrett Bradbury just because of his position. It's hard to find people that you know are good corners. I just don't know if a team's willing to give up, like, you know, I'm guaranteed the Packers are probably asking for like a 3rd or a 4th. I don't know if a team's willing to give that up because of like his age and then what they can and the contract.
It's probably the contract.
And I don't even know what that number is, but yeah, that's part of the problem too, is the contract.
He comes with like 16 mil.
Yeah,
I don't think
anybody's going to
trade
and re-sign, because that's the other.
I think everyone's going to be like, we'll wait for you to cut him, and we'll pay him less than that.
Right, and so Peter Bukowski thinks he'll get cut, and then that's him losing. Is that what? He's saying?
He thinks that he's going to just capitulate and come back to the team with his tail between his legs at a pay cut.
Like take a pay cut.
Got it.
I think that's the likeliest scenario. I think that Jaire Alexander, if he were dealt or if he were cut and re-signed elsewhere, I think someone of his personality would probably have that chip on his shoulder, be on his best behavior for 1 year. You'd probably get a good year out of him at age 28, 29. I think that there's probably something there. I don't care for it to be in Minnesota. I
don't want it to be in Minnesota either. He probably wants it to be in Minnesota. If the number was right, I would take him in Minnesota. But I think here's the thing. So think about Everson Griffin. The Vikings offered Everson Griffin a number. He didn't want it. He then goes to the Lions for the same number because he was mad. And he comes back to Minnesota, tail tucked between his legs, and explains that to the media. Or, and I don't know if he said to everybody, but I know he said it to me. That, like, man, I made a mistake. Like, the Vikings had my best interest in hand. I was my pride was too much in this. My ego got involved, and I didn't want to take. I don't even know what the number was. I don't know if it was 7 million, 6 million, 5 million. He didn't want to take that from the Vikings, but he took it from, like, I think it's Lions or the Cowboys, whichever one he went to after the Vikings. He took the same number that they offered him. He just was mad at the Vikings offer and that they wouldn't offer him more. And I think that's when you got to put your ego aside when it comes to these contracts. And that's where Jaire Alexander is right now. He's got to put his ego aside and just say, look, here's the number. But I will say this. He'll take if the Packers say, hey, we don't want to pay you 16, we'll pay you 9. He would rather get 9 from somebody else. And I think that's where he's at.
Right, so
the Vikings need somebody at washed corner.
They
always have.
You need somebody old and busted.
Derek Cox.
Yeah.
Is that the guy? Is that the name?
So we were just having a conversation about like day one impacts for like draftees and stuff like that. The Vikings historically have not had a ton of day one impact from first rounders, which is not to say they've been unsuccessful in the first round. There have been a lot of good players, but like, how quickly do you think a first rounder needs to start before the investment in that player begins to sour?
I'd say at least year 2. Like, when you get to year 3 and there's nothing happening yet, then you're kind of like, well, wait a minute. We only have 1 more year before we have to figure out, do we tag this guy? Do we keep him? Do we extend him? Because usually, most of those first rounders are signing for 4-year deals with an option. So that 3rd year, because you got to go knowing in year 4, is this an extension year? Is this we're for sure picking up your player option and you tell them right away? Or is it, hey, all right, this is not going to work out for us? And I think that's where Ed Ingram was at year 3, right? And he was a 2nd round pick or something like that, 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
Second round pick
pick.
going into year 4.
So I think even first and second rounders, you kind of look at that 3-year mark. Like, have you done anything, or are you going to do something for us this year? The biggest issue, and I heard you guys talk about Dallas Turner, the biggest issue for him is how long is Andrew Van Ginkel and Jonathan Grenard going to be here? Because he's always going to be behind those guys. Like, there's no way on the field for him behind. And again, when you draft a guy like him, Dallas Turner, but you pick up 2 free agents and Grenard and Van Ginkel, you don't know what you're getting in those free agents. Like, you really don't. Like Eric Wilson coming in. We don't know what we're getting out of Eric Wilson. He was here before. He was really good under Zim. Is he going to come in and be a great backup and make an impact on special teams? Or is he going to just be a guy where they keep for a year and they're like, all right, this didn't work out, move on to the next guy? Like, you really don't know free agents. And so I don't think they knew Grenard and Van Ginkel would be that good, because that's why they got Dallas Turner. If they knew those two were going to be that good, I guarantee they don't make that trade to go get Dallas Turner. I just don't see a avenue where that makes sense. I think they probably stay back and get something else that they maybe need. Because did they need Dallas Turner? Could they have got through the season without picking him at that number? Yes, they could have. So that's again, that's the game of, like, I don't like Laquan Treadwell. The Vikings knew Stephon Diggs was going to be that good. They wouldn't have drafted Treadwell. Like, they just assumed they needed a number 1 receiver with Adam Thielen and a 5th-round guy in Stephon Diggs. Well, your 5th-round guy ends up being a star. And so it's like, well, crap, we didn't know he's going to be this good. We just wasted a 1st-round pick. So, it's a gamble. It's a gamble, and it's paid off before, and sometimes it hasn't. So looking at that early pick coming up, that's why I think it's leaning towards maybe that D tackle spot, if they stay there, because of the age of the guys in those spots now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. Ron, I was going to ask you about Max Brosmer as a developmental pick and blah, blah, blah. But honestly, I want to know, who are some of your biggest draft misses? I know there's not a lot of them, but who are some of your biggest draft misses where you look back and you're like, I loved this guy, he didn't pan out, or vice versa. I didn't like this guy, and now he's thriving in the league. Like O.J. Howard, Josh Doxson, those are always 2 of my biggest misses that I have on my resume. I didn't think Brian O'Neill was going to be nearly as good as he is now. But can you think of a guy that you really liked and he didn't pan out, or vice versa?
Oh, man. Well, I know the name, so I said this name to the Vikings, and it was mainly, honestly, it was his name. Like, I loved Deebo Samuel coming out of the draft. And I remember thinking, like, maybe the Vikings could get him, because, like, when I forgot what year was he the Treadwell year? He wasn't the Treadwell year.
No, he was a couple years after
19,
that, I
right?
think. Yeah,
19 or 20.
South Carolina.
Yeah, he was South Carolina, but I remember he was one of the guys. Like, Chenault was on there. LaVisca Chenault
That sounds
was on
right.
that list.
That's 2020.
2020.
I mean, I've done it so many years. They're all
2019.
blending together, but
Yeah,
like
19
LaVisca
with
Chenault was a
A.J.
name that I
Brown
liked.
and-
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I did like Deebo Samuel, and I kind of wish at that time, because I was thinking like Swiss Army knife. Look, was it Patterson? They had the Patterson deal here, and I was like, oh, this could be another guy. And everybody said that doesn't translate to the NFL. I remember when I talked about him, everybody kept trying to go against me, like, that crap doesn't work in the NFL. Like, did it? And look at it, it works.
Yeah.
So
Nailed
you know, it's just he was one of the guys that I wish they had like understood, like the Swiss Army knife thing can work if you know how to do it. Just like with Patterson, Cordero Patterson, nobody knew what they had in him.
Yep.
And it sucked that Shermer didn't have the job sooner.
Yeah. Square peg into a round hole. Like,
when
trying to
Shermer
make him
took
something
over,
he's
he
not.
started wondering the same thing. He's like, man, because I asked Shermer face to face. I'm like, dude, what do you think about Patterson? Like, why isn't he even getting, any run? And he's like, man, I don't know, because the guy is good. And he's like, I don't know why we don't use him here. And then, then he ends up trying to use him, but it was too little too late. So, but yeah, Deebo Samuel's a name that stands out because I liked his name first. And then I watched his little, his draft story stuff, like leading up to it. And I was like, man, this could be a good pick. But yeah,
he's been balling, man. Yeah. Great pick.
Great first name, better last name. Ron, I'm going to steal Luke's original question. We're going to talk about dev QBs here in a minute. Do you think Max Brosmer can be a backup somewhere? Do you think he could someday start in the NFL? What do you think of him?
I think he will be a Kevin O'Connell type of backup. Like, I think this would be a guy that would be a coach one day. I've talked to him about that. He does want to coach. I heard PJ Fleck talking to Kevin O'Connell about Max Brosmer during Max Brosmer's workout, and you can kind of hear. And Josh McCown, not Kevin O'Connell. Josh McCown was standing there. He and I were talking with PJ Fleck, and they were talking about Max Brosmer and his ability to spin the ball. How smart is he? And I forgot how PJ put it, but he was like, no, not a knock, man. Like, he reminds me of you though. Talking about Josh McCown, like how smart he is, how and I don't know if that's PJ playing up to Josh's ego. But he was like, yeah, he reminds me of you, like the way he thinks through things and the way he does, and so I could see that if Max is out there and has no home, I could see Josh, extending an invite to camp to come to, mini camp and OTAs. I think he could be, I don't know if he comes in right away at QB2. I think he probably enters somebody's team as QB3. But I think he definitely can work up to QB2. The difference in him and Tanner Morgan is the release timing and strength. Like his release timing is way quicker and faster, and it's a tighter spiral. Where Tanner had more of that deliberate, like delivery. I don't know how to explain it, but just watching Max, he has like different arm slots where he can get the ball out of his hands quick when he needs to, and then he can throw the deep ball and put it on target when he needs to. So he has like different arm slots, whereas Tanner was kind of the same quarterback no matter the throw, and I think that's what always held him back. That's why I think he did so well with guys like Rashad Bateman and Tyler Johnson, because they were able to make plays so he can let it go in time, versus when he had other receivers that weren't as good as those two, he didn't do so well. And so I think that was always the key, is when you give him plays to get the ball out of his hands quick, Tanner was great. When he has to think about it a little bit too much, it wasn't there. Where Max was kind of good at every route, and he didn't have first round talent, second round talent receivers. So I think that's the other thing to look at with Max Brosmer. Like he got a lot out of those guys. I mean, he made Daniel Jackson a lot of money as far as putting his name in the hat for a lot of teams with some of those throws and catches.
Yeah. I think he's sneaky good, like second tier kind of developmental quarterback option. I like Brosmer.
Yeah. And the way he was throwing at his pro day, I mean, you could see a lot of scouts on some of the throws going back over, asking for another throw, which it felt like they were saying, like, okay, can you throw this ball? What do you do with this throw? What is on this step? And because I got to talk, the Steelers DB coach was there, and he was running some of the stuff, and he even was talking about, like, as a DB, what he sees, because they had the DBs working off the quarterback's drops and other stuff. And he even said, like, man, that kid can throw. So, like, I mean, I'm not saying Mike Tomlin, but we know Mike Tomlin has no quarterback really there other than Mason Rudolph. So, I mean, there's some opportunities out there for Max to, I mean, maybe be a 6th, 7th round pick. You never know.
Yeah. People should check out the Ariante Ursery interview and the Ron Johnson Show. Also follow the new show account, The Ron Johnson Show, on Instagram. Get show clips there, content from the Ron Johnson Show. Ron, excellent stuff as always, and we'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate it. It's 21 days from the draft
21?
now?
21.
Man, it's coming
Awesome.
fast. It's coming fast.
It is coming fast.
Here we go.
Can't wait.
Here's one thing I will say though. I asked the Vikings this because we're doing a show at the stadium, and I was like, would the front office tell the marketing team if they're going to trade out so that we don't sit here for however many hours without a pick?
They got to have
like
like
it's like
beer sale.
a 40% chance it's going to happen.
And they said, unfortunately, no, because they've already paid for the spot. They've already start selling tickets.
Yeah.
And even if they're going to trade out, he's like, we're just going to do a show and talk about all the picks and then talk about what, day 2 and 3 is going to look like for the Vikings. So he's like, we're there regardless. And he's like, if they don't have a first round pick and they're trading out, he's like, we'll find out, but we won't find out until I think he said 15 minutes before it happens.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
yeah, that's the worst. I will say the Vikes have done the opposite though, and made those nights just absolutely incredible when they trade, not only pick their first pick, but then trade back into the first round.
Correct.
Teddy Bridgewater, Harrison Smith, a couple other examples, but yeah,
Cordero.
Could go either way for sure.
Cordero,
Yeah,
yep,
Cordero,
one of those.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, they said it. It may or may not get out of there. We'll see.
All right.
They might not be in the first round.
Thanks, Ron. We'll see you on Tuesday on the Ron Johnson
Appreciate it.
Show.
See you, Ron.
Yep, you bet. Let's turn this into a 4-minute drill. I want your best developmental QB option for the Vikes. We're going to make it a 4-minute drill.
Start the clock. It's time to execute the 4-minute drill.
Luke Braun.
Yeah, I was looking around like backup quarterback to day 3 quarterback types. Nobody's too exciting, but it's day 3. So I'm going to go with Will Howard. He's a little bit more experienced. He seems like somebody that could compete with Brett Rippon for the backup job, which still isn't filled, that could be reasonable. That's the thing. He can deliver a ball where he's supposed to. His timing is okay. He's just not going to kill anybody with his ceiling. He's a little bit rigid. He's not going to zip a ball to the outside with the craziest arm strength you've ever seen. So nobody's going to be excited about it, but that's kind of what you're looking at in a backup. Boring is okay.
I like that as well. I mean, again, not a great class, especially when you compare it to last year's. Nobody really jumps out that much. I was intrigued with Dillian Gabriel during the Senior Bowl, but he's not it. So I also have Will Howard written down too. He's gotten better and better every year too. It feels like he's still growing and developing. Like he hasn't hit this big wall or plateaued like a lot of guys either. Kansas State, that's where he started, put up huge numbers. Okay, it's the Big 12, Kansas State, but won the Big 12 title there. Goes to Ryan Day's offense, which is much more like NFL, just like stylistically, which I'm sure was a big challenge right away. He was good right from the jump. Killed it in the playoffs last year when they needed him the most. You know, the lights are the brightest, all that stuff. And I just think when you get to the NFL, I actually do like his arm strength, but he's got that NFL size too. He's a big dude. He's 6'4", 238, something like that. Like that's a NFL prototype kind of size and strength, I feel like. And again, I do like the arm strength quite a bit too. So developmental quarterback wise, I'm definitely intrigued with him more than a lot of these other guys. Would I use a 3rd or 4th round pick on him? No, but I like him for somebody.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Sam.
That's right. Go ahead.
Cool. I'm going to assume that Quinn Ewers is drafted before day 3, which to me sounds like a mistake, but okay. If not, I would like him on day 3. I think that he's interesting. His highs are pretty high. He's a very volatile quarterback, of course, and his eyes move pretty quickly, and he's got, a bunch of really great tools, but, he's not a good quarterback yet. That's the whole point. But if we are restricted to people that we're pretty confident are going to go on day 3, I'm going to go with Brady Cook. He's a very good athlete. I think that kind of gets glossed over in his scouting reports. I think that he's got a pretty strong arm. He does need some mechanical work, I think, and that's something that obviously when you've got time to develop a quarterback, you can work on. My read on the way that he plays is that he's hesitant. It's less that his eyes aren't quick, which is a really important trait for me in quarterbacks, and more that he wants things to get open, right? And by that I mean in the same way that a Kevin O'Connell offense is just going to wait a tick, and I think that he does that without the offensive design asking him to do that. But I do think that there are moments where he does have quick eyes, especially when he's scrambling. And so I think that there's something there to work with. But he's a good athlete, strong arm, likes to take chances, aggressive. He's just not good yet. And, day 3 guy, you can work on that.
Sometimes I struggle with quarterbacks or vice versa with wide receivers, but that like connection, I'm like, okay, are we going to look back and did Mike Evans make Johnny Manziel look good, or was it vice versa? Like, Quinn Ewers had Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, 2nd round pick. Matthew Golden's coming out this year. He'll be a top 50 pick. Jatavion Sanders as well. It's just, I'm not saying either one is right or wrong. Like, I'm not knocking Quinn Ewers. Like, I get who I get. What do you want me to do? Not throw to him? But like, sometimes I struggle during the process, the scouting process.
No, for sure.
Like,
I
when
think
there's so much talent around some of these guys.
Yeah, and you don't want to knock a guy for being so talented.
Right.
You got recruited to a talent.
What am I supposed
factory,
to do? Not his
right?
fault. Yeah.
But yeah, no, you do have to figure out kind of what he's being asked to do and whether those things that he's being asked of him translate into what he will be asked to do in the NFL when the talent gap between his teammates and his opponents is much smaller.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair question for actually somebody like Brady Cook, who'd like Luther Burden to throw to, right?
Yeah.
But not that Luther Burden was necessarily used in a way that I think he would be used in the NFL. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I think that's kind of an interesting for someone like a Jalen Milroe, who is like absolutely a developmental prospect that was not a candidate for this, task, because he's definitely not a day 3 guy, even though his best position may be running back, right? It'll be interesting to see kind of how we parse out what Jalen Milroe was asked to do, because the things that he's bad at are the things that are obvious, and sometimes the things that matter, the things that are less obvious, and he might be good at those. Cards on the table, I have not evaluated Jalen Milroe. I haven't watched a ton of him. But he does not seem to be obviously good at quarterback, and so that's kind of why I've skipped him.
Dylan Gabriel is my guy. He came up 6-year starter. He's going to get knocked for his size. Maybe not the strongest arm in the world, but he thrived in 3 different systems, because this is today's day and age in college football. started for Central Florida 3 years, started for Oklahoma
Worked for Bo
2
Nix.
years,
It's
started
nothing matters. Yeah, sure.
for Oregon in the final year, and he was good with all 3 of them. He's really good under pressure, and he gets through his reads. Got a good head on his shoulders. He's old. He's got ample experience. That's a really
Old
high
is good
floor.
now. It's
Old is good now.
Yeah,
Old is
Brandon
good.
Whedon should have
World
came
is
out
upside
Brandon
down.
Whedon.
15 years later.
Roger me
Yeah.
mentioned him earlier.
About that.
It is the sensation sweeping the nation. It's name drop.
How fast can you think? It's time for the most chaotic game in the Viking podcast sphere. It's Name Drop.
You were so fast to click on some of these graphics.
He's
man.
good. He's really good.
That was a new one, I think. Nat.
Yeah, I've never heard
Yeah,
that
that
one.
is a new one.
That had some like bass to it
Tight.
or something. Like I don't know what kind of.
I thought
Feeling the energy.
I thought the graphics tracing the nameplates was quite excellent.
Play it again.
Some old
Let's watch
players.
that. Let's just watch
One
it
more,
again.
one more time.
How fast can you think? It's time for the most chaotic game in the Viking podcast sphere. It's Name Drop.
I like that we
Now-
got some Peterson.
Yeah,
so
now
that was-
I have more questions than answers. Can we do it one more time? Because well, you just
He
noticed
said
stuff.
stalling so he can think of more guys.
Can you do that and then play the nerdy stat of the day and then that again?
Yeah,
And then the sound.
And then the
and then the song.
Game time.
Game time.
I'll play the sound.
All right.
Name drop
If
is
anybody's still watching after 56 minutes, you just got paid
86
off.
86 and rapidly dropping. Well, these are the rules. Today I am abstaining from playing because I need to be the judge and I need to monitor the answers. So you 3 will play. This is the theme theme is Vikings touchdown scorers from a given season.
Oh,
I will give the season. You guys have to go around in the circle naming a touchdown scorer from that season.
Oh my
If you
gosh.
miss,
Wow.
obviously you're out. If you take too long, you're out. Last
I'm
man standing
boned.
gets the
All
point.
right.
You have 5 possible points.
Congrats, Luke Braun.
on
Yeah.
the board.
It's
no, this takes my history advantage away because I was going to be able to go down to like John Gilliam and like guys from the 70s and
John Gilliam, one of the most underrated players in Vikings history, John Gilliam. Anyway,
absolutely. But now if it's like from a given season, you guys are going to be better at this because you'll be able to like think of the names that you covered in training camp in 2015.
We are going to start more recently and then work our way backward. Your first year, these are touchdown scorers from the season. Let me get some music going first. What do you think? A little lo-fi?
Okay.
wow, now I feel like I can study / relax.
Or rock?
Yeah.
I like rock more. We're going to
Little
go
bit
with
of
rock
rock, yeah.
music as you
Driving.
name Vikings
I think we do
touchdown
that every
scorers.
time. We start on lo-fi and we're like, that ain't it.
Ah,
That ain't
this
it.
stinks.
Go to
This is not
rock.
the vibe.
Terrible. And we'll start with Braun and then alternate who starts every other time. So
Sure.
Braun, touchdown scorers from 2022.
Justin Jefferson.
Who's next?
Yeah, I don't know.
You, Inman, then Arif.
2022, Dalvin Cook.
Yep.
Great. 22. Kenny Wangwu?
Yes.
Yeah. Kick return touchdown
New England.
against the Patriots on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Love it.
Braun.
KJ Osborne.
God.
Thanksgiving game, Adam Thielen, back end corner of the touchdown or corner of the end zone.
Correct.
There you go.
Correct.
Oh, there you go.
And I can't keep these years.
I know it's tough. They all blend
Well,
together
BC.
after a while.
Johnson.
That's a buzzer.
All right. Yeah. Sure. Was he on the team? I don't know anymore. Great.
He was not on the team. I think he got hurt that year. So Braun and Inman
Oh,
duke it out.
fantastic.
Braun.
Okay. TJ Hawkinson.
Yes.
I should have gone
Madison?
with that.
Alexander Madison?
Correct. Had 6.
Big Kirko, I believe, ran one in.
Knocked 2 in. Yep.
Yep.
I'm running out here. I got. Was Naylor on the team? Naylor?
Yes. Jalen Naylor against Green Bay in the second to last game of the year. Yep.
Oof.
Johnny Munt.
Yes, Johnny Munt had a receiving
Wow.
touchdown.
Okay, 2022, Hawkinson came in halfway through. Munt, Irv Smith.
Irv Smith, yes.
He did get in. That's right,
Wow.
against the Eagles.
Wow.
I believe
I'm out.
we have a CJ
I got-
Ham touchdown.
We have 2 CJ Ham touchdowns.
Yes.
Yep.
Outstanding.
Okay, JJ, Thielen.
James is gonna be so mad at me that I didn't get.
Somebody
CJ.
said Osborne already,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
Is there any more?
There are 2 more. You have 3 seconds.
Ty Chandler?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, you could. Very tough. You could have gone with Jalen Rager.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
that's right.
Wow.
Zooming around pre-snap motion in the
Eric Hendricks, scoop and score.
Oh,
I was trying to
defensive.
think of who scored on defense, and they didn't get a
Defensive.
lot that year.
Oh, I didn't even think about defense. Okay. Okay.
What game was the scoop? What game was that? I don't
Eric
even
Hendricks scoop and
remember.
score
Buffalo
Oh, Chargers?
recovery touchdown.
No.
against the
um,
Chargers.
22.
I know we scored defensive touchdowns versus the Chargers. Maybe that was a
That
Fetty or
that would have been
something?
Fadio Denebo
Yeah.
in 19.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was a good round. Wow, point for
Yeah,
point
all
for
three-
Braun.
It was
all
the
three
Bills-
tight
Yeah, it
ends.
was the Bills game. Where
Munt,
there wasn't
Irvin.
actually a scoop.
Oh,
Gonna get-
funny.
Gonna get tougher now as we go back. Inman starts. We go back.
Oh. It was the touchdown at the end of the Bills game.
Yeah, that's what we just
yeah,
said.
of course.
Oh, I'd looked it up.
Of course.
I wasn't listening because I was Googling it.
Great.
Yeah, how could we forget that? All right, Luke Inman starts. The year is 2017.
Okay, so that would be a Diggs. Stephon Diggs.
Yes.
Adam Thielen.
Yes.
Kyle Rudolph.
Yes.
Tay Train, Latavius Murray.
Yeah.
8 of them. 8 big ones.
Xavier Rhodes.
Ooh, was that the Cardinals? 99
I thought it
yarder.
Well, that was 2016. I don't know if he got one in
the
17.
buzzer.
No, I thought it was
Yeah, you were 1 year off.
No.
The original Jet McKinnon.
Ooh, nice.
Yep.
Thielen?
It's a buzzer.
Was that said?
That was
I think it
said.
That was
Oh,
said.
man.
Ron gets it. Yep. Other options would have been Jarius Wright, C.J. Ham, Case Keenum rushing, Eric Hendricks, another defensive touchdown against Cincinnati,
Anthony
Dave-
Oh,
Barr.
of course.
David Morgan,
Oh.
Yeah.
and that's it.
With the flowing locks, or did he cut
Yeah.
him by then?
I think he had the locks though.
That's 2 points for Braun. We go on to point number 3 of name drop the year, going back further to a year most people try to forget, 2011.
Oh, no.
2011.
Oh, man.
Reap starts.
I'm not gonna be
Uh,
good here.
Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, easy.
Okay.
Vasante Shenko, is he still on the team?
Yes,
Okay.
The
Sante.
Percy? Is he traded then?
Percy, correct?
He was still there.
I'm remembering the 2009 team. This is not helpful. Was Bernard Berrien on the team? Bernard Berrien.
That is a buzzer.
Ah!
You're a year off. Every single one.
Every
you're a
single
year off.
time. Every single time.
No Bernard. Luke Braun, your turn.
Michael Jenkins?
Yep.
Oh crap!
I just feel like there's like 9 years in a row where you could just say Kyle Rudolph and you got a good chance.
Kyle Rudolph, indeed.
Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah.
Yeah, rookie year, right?
Yep.
Surely Christian Ponder ran one in.
Has to have, right?
He did not run one.
Ah!
No. Other options in 2011, as Inman gets the point, you could have gone with Gerhardt. You could have gone with Joe
was my next
Webb.
one.
Joe Webb.
Joe Webb!
Wow.
You could have gone with Donovan McNabb.
Arif, your brand!
Wow.
My brain.
No CJM, no Joe Webb.
The best answers for rarity would have been Devin Aromashadu and Jared Allen.
Oh, wow.
Actually,
I
I'm
was
sorry,
thinking
no,
about Jared Allen because I was like,
Jared Allen was
tax
not-
season, but I was like,
he was a
Did
safety.
Jared Allen
It was not a
score?
touchdown.
Oh, safety.
No,
Oh,
no.
this
It was
is
a
safety.
safety.
Versus
That's a
Dan?
good one. I like that.
Versus
Is
who?
that the Lions one? All right.
Orlovsky. That was 07, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
That was the
Oh, wait.
That was the year they went 0-16.
16.
And it was the
Right.
difference between the Vikings being their only loss that
Yeah,
year.
that was the key.
They only
Yeah,
won that.
That
Yeah,
was really funny.
12-10. I was at
All
that
right,
game.
2-1. Braun goes first. We are back to the hallowed 2004 season.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Randy Moss.
Correct.
Carter.
Ooh, I'm sorry.
Wow. What am I
He was
doing?
gone.
What am I doing? Nate Burrows.
Oh yeah.
I don't. Trying to remember. Was Robert Smith on that team? Robert Smith?
Wow, easy point for Braun. All he
Wow.
needs to do is get Randy
Say
Moss.
Randy Moss. He said
I
Randy
believe,
Moss.
Yeah,
well,
you
Jim
said
Kleinstosser
And these are
would have
gonna
been
get
there.
harder?
Could have had a Culpepper
Noelde
sneak.
Moore, Ontario Smith. I had some. I just thought
Yeah.
Chris Carter was
Was Michael
Yeah,
Bennett
too.
still on the team?
Yeah, you went with the big names, but yeah, you overlooked Michael Bennett, Nate Burleson, Marcus Robinson, Ontario
Man.
Smith, Jermaine Wiggins,
Marcus
Mo
Robinson.
Was
Williams,
Wiggins there? Okay, yeah.
Mo Williams, yeah.
Kevin Williams.
I'll always remember the Nate Burleson touchdown in the Packers game, in the playoff game, because that's when I knew they were going to win.
That was sick. Last one, and this is just a freebie because Braun wins the contest. We'll go back to 1998. Why not?
All right.
Inman goes first.
1998. That would be Robert Smith.
Yep.
Randy Moss.
Yep. Chris Carter?
Yep.
Jake Reed.
Yep.
Jermaine Wiggins. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
All
a
right.
buzzer. That's a buzzer.
Randall
Arif
Cunningham?
Shut out.
Yeah,
Cunningham.
I was
Yep.
gonna say.
Yep.
Yeah.
He
Gotta-
snuck
Gotta have a sneak in there.
one in.
I got not Leroy Horde. Is he on that team?
Wow.
Leroy Horde 9.
There you go.
Nine Leroy God,
touchdowns.
my favorite as a kid.
Wow.
9 rushing plus a reception. 10 total.
What's a reception? What are you doing out there, bud?
I think we're too early, but I can't think of anybody else. Jim Kleinsaucer?
That is, I think, that is a year too
A
early.
year too early.
Dang.
Yeah.
Who else was on there though?
Who else was on
Who are the
98
defensive
list?
guys?
Andrew Glover was the tight end. Jimmy
I
Hitchcock
wouldn't
had
have got
3.
We lost.
Hitchcock.
3
pick sixes.
No.
Wow.
We lost first.
What'd we lose?
I have no idea what we lost. Souls?
Braun's audio's out.
Oh, okay.
We Jimmy Hitchcock, Dwayne Rudd, Charles Evans was a fullback who scored. David Palmer had a kick return
Oh.
against Baltimore.
Okay, yeah. Crazy.
I haven't looked at the chat. Were they going nuts?
Not
I
really.
didn't. Yeah, let's see. Jerome Felton, good name drop.
Yeah.
Somebody said Sidney Rice for 2011, but I think we were too late for that.
I think we were too late for Senior Rise. I think it was like the.
I think Sydney was gone. I think he was gone
Yeah.
after 2010. Went to Seattle. Yeah, everyone's
Yeah,
just a year off.
and then Seattle made up for that by getting Percy the next year.
Mhm.
And giving us Xavier Rhodes with the draft pick.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sloth. I like the segment too.
Thank you, Meech. I agree. Let's tar and feather Sam.
We got some crazy echo in someone's background as well.
I assume that's Luke's.
Yeah. Thank you, Luke. We're signing off anyway. That was a good show. Thank you all who watched, listened, and commented. Find our audio on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed. It's the Minnesota Football Party, Mondays and Thursdays, plus our Care 11 crew on Wednesdays for the special edition. We will talk to you next week. Have an excellent weekend.